Welcome to the Network Plus Prepcast, your dedicated audio companion for mastering every objective on the CompTIA Network Plus certification exam. This series is produced by baremetalcyber.com. Device hardening is foundational to any secure network infrastructure because default configurations are inherently insecure. Routers, switches, and firewalls often ship with unnecessary services enabled, blank passwords, and open interfaces. If these settings are left unchanged, they can serve as entry points for attackers. Any exposed management interface or protocol becomes a potential vector for compromise. Hardening a device reduces its vulnerability footprint, makes it more resilient to attack, and aligns it with industry standards for compliance and risk reduction. In this episode, we focus on key elements of device hardening, including restricting network interfaces, enforcing strong password practices, and maintaining up-to-date firmware. These topics are common on the certification exam and frequently used in real-world security assessments. You'll need to recognize how to lock down access ports, disable weak protocols, and secure administrator credentials. Firmware management is also essential, since outdated software often contains known vulnerabilities that can be exploited by even low-skill attackers. Device hardening is the process of applying security settings that reduce a system's exposure to attack. This typically involves disabling unnecessary features, locking down remote access, and setting consistent configurations that follow organizational standards. The goal is to ensure that every deployed device operates with only the minimum required services and uses settings that are difficult for an attacker to exploit. Hardening reduces both the likelihood and impact of security incidents. Securing device interfaces is a central part of hardening. This includes disabling any unused physical ports and ensuring that unneeded software services are turned off. Remote access should be tightly controlled by disabling insecure protocols and using management-only interfaces that do not route user traffic. Interfaces not meant for configuration or control should be explicitly restricted through access control lists or port security features. Camera and management ports must be protected with authentication and access controls. These ports often offer complete administrative access and are prime targets for both local and remote attackers. All login attempts should be monitored and logged, including failed access attempts. These logs provide valuable forensic data in the event of an incident and help confirm that access policies are being enforced. Password protection is one of the most basic but essential aspects of device hardening. Administrators must enforce strong password creation rules, including minimum length, complexity, and expiration policies. Passwords should be rotated regularly, and default or shared credentials must be eliminated. Devices with unchanged vendor credentials are among the most frequently compromised in penetration tests and real-world attacks. Device hardening includes implementing both local and remote passwords. Local passwords control access to the console and auxiliary ports, while remote passwords protect VTY lines used for remote access. These credentials should be stored in encrypted format whenever possible. Role-based access is also important. Administrative users should have different privileges than users who only need read-only access for monitoring purposes. Login banners are often used in device hardening to display legal disclaimers or warnings. These banners inform users that access is restricted and that unauthorized activity is monitored. While they do not prevent intrusion, they serve as a deterrent and support legal action if a breach occurs. Properly worded banners also play a role in incident response documentation and help define the scope of authorized access. Disabling unused services and protocols is another important aspect of interface-level hardening. Insecure services like Telnet, FTP, and HTTP should be removed if not actively needed. Secure alternatives such as SSH, SFTP, and HTTPS should be used instead. Additionally, management ports should be closed to the Internet and restricted to internal administrative segments. These steps reduce the number of ways an attacker can interact with the device. Firmware management is a critical component of device hardening. Firmware controls the operating logic of a router or switch, and outdated versions often contain exploitable flaws. Keeping firmware current ensures that security patches are applied and that devices remain resilient to known threats. Vendors release updates regularly to fix common vulnerabilities and exposures, or CVEs, that could be used in targeted attacks. Updating firmware should always follow a structured process. Before applying an update, administrators should back up the current configuration and verify the integrity of the firmware image. Checksums or digital signatures are often used to confirm that the file has not been tampered with. Updates should only be applied during approved maintenance windows to avoid network disruption. These practices ensure both safety and accountability in change control. For more cyber content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Logging firmware versions is an important practice for maintaining device security and audit readiness. Each device should have its firmware version recorded in a centralized inventory system. This documentation allows administrators to track which devices are running outdated or vulnerable versions. By maintaining a clear update history, teams can verify whether security patches have been applied and prepare for audits that require evidence of system maintenance. After updating firmware, verifying post-connect functionality ensures that devices are operating correctly. Administrators should check that all services are running, interfaces are active, and no unexpected changes have occurred. Reviewing logs after an update helps detect any anomalies or compatibility issues that may have been introduced. It's also important to confirm that the device configuration persisted through the upgrade, as some updates may reset settings to defaults if not properly managed. Monitoring and alerting for unauthorized changes is an essential layer of protection. Change detection tools can be configured to monitor system files, firmware versions, and configuration settings. Any unexpected change, such as a new admin account, modified ACL, or firmware rollback, should generate an alert. These alerts allow teams to respond quickly and investigate whether the change was planned or malicious. Securing the configuration files themselves helps prevent tampering and preserve system integrity. Securing administrative access to management interfaces is a high priority. Access control lists should be used to restrict which IP addresses can reach the device's management plane. Multi-factor authentication or key-based logins further strengthen access controls. These measures prevent unauthorized users from logging in, even if they acquire a valid password. Placing management interfaces on dedicated VLANs or isolated subnets provides additional protection and simplifies monitoring. Regular configuration audits help identify deviations from established hardening policies. Baseline configurations should be defined and stored in version control systems. Administrators can compare live configurations against these baselines to detect unauthorized or accidental changes. Audits also help identify outdated commands or insecure settings that may have been introduced during troubleshooting or new deployments. Identifying and remediating drift ensures long-term consistency and security. Hardening efforts should align with both internal policies and external compliance standards. Frameworks such as NIST, PCI DSS, and ISO often include device security requirements that mandate the use of strong passwords, secure protocols, and audit logs. Organizations must map their hardening practices to these requirements to avoid fines or failed assessments. Internal policies should reflect these standards and be enforced through automation and regular review. In the certification exam, we'll test your understanding of device hardening in practical ways. You may be asked to choose which protocols to disable, recognize the correct command for setting an encrypted password, or sequence the steps of a secure firmware update. Being able to match hardening techniques to specific threats is a key skill. You should also be able to recognize why certain defaults are dangerous and how to replace them with more secure alternatives. Hardening a network device means more than checking boxes. It's about reducing attack vectors, controlling who has access, and ensuring the system stays resilient over time. By disabling unnecessary features, securing administrative access,